Hey YouTube, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Long time, nearly 3 months since I gave my last update of the MN111, the Land Rover Defender 110 build series. It was a long, hot summer, but now I'm finished. No, I'm not really finished. Still, the bouncy shocks, which are kind of cool too. But in the last week I finished the model. It drives now. It drives quite nicely. Even can crawl a little bit. Slow, but not steep inclines. It will tip over, but check this out. That's of course because I used awesome electronics. And I used finally the new tiny Tombow RC X6 PM350 radio. I have bought a bunch of those. They are awesome. And I used the X6FP receiver. That's the receiver I introduced you to all of the receiver types of the Tombow RC radios in a video some time ago. That's the receiver with the light on-off switch function, which is on channel 3, and therefore I use now the light bar. So I mounted a light controller, of course the awesome Lame Boys RC light controller, to my Defender, but I thought, okay, I will not connect the light bar to the controller where I have to use one button to control all the light functions, because if I use this receiver I can switch it separately on off. Of course the lights were not mounted. I mounted them. I mounted simply 3mm LEDs. I also had to exchange all the front LEDs. Light mounting was quite a bit of a problem. I changed I will show this to you later, all 3 LEDs in each front light, 2 in the center, and the parking light were connected in parallel, so you couldn't switch them independently. I disconnected the parking lights so I can switch on parking lights now with low beam parking lights and the main beams. Maybe you can see it on camera. 2 LEDs, SMD LEDs, low, medium, high. So that's full, everything off. Then you have turning lights left, including the side blinker. I mounted LEDs to the sides too. Doesn't come with this, and better to show them with one blinkers. Hazard lights, so we have the blinkers. Those are new, and here, and I also exchanged the second reverse light. You see here, white light for reverse, and originally the Defender does come with 2 on the right and on the left side. I did not like this at all. Come on. So I changed the white, the second rear light, to a normal red rear light, and the upper 2 rear lights are also brake lights. I hope it's visible on camera. They are braking. Yes, it's visible. So that's what I did with the light, and this was by far most work because there were many problems and I nearly got crazy with this. But let's talk about the light in the end. What most of you are probably interested are electronics, ESC, servo. I did not change the servo so far, and wheels and tires, and those are no good news. Here I use the Injora stamped steel beadlock wheels in white with those old Injora tires, and I think they look quite good and appropriate for a Land Rover Defender, but unfortunately they do not fit. I think, I'm not completely sure, but I think they are rubbing on the upper portal. Not 100% sure. This tire is loose now. And here on the upper portion of the portals, I think those rub. And I will go back to the stock wheels and tires again, probably. So to those which to come with this 9mm hex, what is crazy, not 7mm hex as usual in small 1/18 and 1/24 cars, and tires are on whatever wheels or rims, maybe 1.2 inch, but they do have different diameter, larger diameter on the inner side, smaller diameter on the outer side. What sound was this? So you can't simply mount different tires, and this will be very, very difficult. A main problem was also, I showed you and told you in the one of my last videos already, that the 9mm hex with 3mm bore cannot be exchanged simple by 7mm hex. However, the FCX24 does also have large bores. FCX24 hex will fit, but that's a stock FCX24 hex. The pins of the FCX24 FMS, that's a FCX24 pins, are larger in diameter than the pins of the MN111 and won't fit into or through the axles, and the pins of the MN111, which are thinner in diameter, won't fit to the FCX24 hex because they are too long. However, it's not very difficult to make custom pins or to shorten the MN pins for a bit. However, with those upgrade hex, aluminium or metal, whatever, for the FCX24, those original MN111 pins fitted hard, but they fitted. So I used now metal upgrade hex for FCX24 and the original MN111 pins. Those are from Banggood. I ordered a bunch of those for the FCX24. So no good news at all for the wheels. I didn't test any other metal beadlock wheels. I have a ton of those, but I'm only interested in the stamped steels in white. I have them from RC 4-wheel drive on my Defender and from Injora for the scale look. And further bad news. Initially, of course, I wanted to run it on 2S, and I used the awesome Flow ESC from Clem Modeltech, but 2S, it's super slow. It's not fast now too, but with 2S, in my opinion, it's too slow, and the Flow ESC can only run with 2S, so I changed to a AS1215RW from Modellbauregler DE. That's also an absolutely awesome ESC, so no disadvantage. And this can run on 3S too, and now it has quite a bit of speed and punch, but quite a bit, it's still not fast. You can see this here, and of course it has awesome climbing abilities and low speed performance, not climbing abilities. I did test it already on my MCCT course. It cannot climb the flat side of the hill of branches because of its super heavy metal body. I maybe will make a test when I receive the ready-to-run version and let those two run, but you see, it can go, and I'm still not sure what to do with the shocks, if I should work on the shocks or if I should let it that way, because this bouncy behavior That's a kind of scale tool too. Really not sure, did not touch the shocks at all so far. But we have a further problem. Running on 3S, running on 2S, we have this awesome hood, bonnet, don't know. I guess the English call it bonnet. The Americans, the US Americans hood. There is no room inside at all. And here's the battery compartment. I run a GST red wire plug, made a hole, and thought this would be nice, but in this compartment nearly no 3S LiPo fits. Initially I wanted to run those 370 milliamp hours nanotechs, and they fit if the body is not mounted. They fit into the compartment. Press fit, butt fit, maybe even with the huge wires, but with hood or with body it's impossible. So I don't know of any larger 3S LiPos which could fit here. Of course the tiny ones, those nanotechs 180, they would fit, but for such a large truck. And finally I used those Turnigy 3S. Those are, you can't buy those are custom ones I soldered from those sales from Hobby King, and they will fit. And even 2S LiPos, it will be hard. Here SCX24 LiPo, again with light, SCX24 LiPo will not fit because it's so narrow, and cutting this is nearly impossible. Cutting this compartment, because that's also holding the shocks here. You can see it here. That's the upper part of the shock, so it's impossible. It's literally impossible to make it wider. And to run it with 300 milliamp hours 2S, that's of course okay. Those are super popular LiPos in this size, but I show it to you again. With 2S it's super slow. It's not fast on 3S either, but on 2S that's, come on. I don't have mounted the on-off switch. You know I don't like it. One of the few things I like from Traxxas. They don't have an on-off switch. You have to plug on-off the LiPo much better in my opinion. Here somewhere is the on-off switch. Here it is, but that's for the original electronics. And now we are on 2S. Of course, awesome low speed modulation. Of course. But full speed, maybe. However, it will also be difficult to find a 2S LiPo that fits nicely in here. A 2S LiPo that's significantly larger than the 300 milliamp hours. Maybe you will find, or have to check. I have quite a ton of LiPos, but most of those smaller 2S won't fit, so those Reno 300 are too wide. Those could fit. Those are what? Turnigy. I have a different plug. Those could fit, but yes, they will fit. Those Turnigys for 2S, but then you have the problem again where to place the plug. So this is a problem I never thought of, because this truck is so super large and there is such a lot of room, but where to mount? I love this, the closure mechanism. But where to mount the LiPo or the battery? Because if you mount it somewhere in the body, you have to unscrew the body, 4 screws. I will show the inside of the truck later. I will unmount the body. So the only real good option is this awesome compartment here, but there is no room and you cannot widen it. Maybe you could cut it. A problem I never thought. So that's it. Now I'm on Dumbo RC and on a Modelbo Regler DE ESC. I have a very nice scale truck which shakes and shakes and shakes, but it was initially more difficult than I had thought of. Maybe it's okay on 2S. But still a 300 milliamp hours LiPo for such a large truck is not big. Here's room for the stickers and probably for the Camel Trophy sticker here. Even if it seems too large, maybe inside. Perfectly for a Camel Trophy sticker, but therefore I would have had to order the yellow version and not the green version, and it looks quite odd without any stickers, so I mounted a Ferrari garage sticker. Ferrari, awesome shop. They also sell Defenders. They have the awesome FMS 1-12 Defender and the tiny 1-24th from Hobby Plus. But now to the main problem and the most difficult part in this truck when I finished it in the last days, weeks. Those were the lights. Maybe you ask yourself why I use white, cold white lights and no warm white LEDs. That's because I thought of this. That's a Land Rover Defender 110 from 2015. So that's a super modern car, and I don't think that those super modern cars still do or did have those nice warm white LEDs. By the way, here you can see the wheels do not fit. They rub. They are, well, how is this called? What is it called? Toe? Wow, wow, wow. Awful, awful, awful. Let's exchange the wheels immediately. At least they are white now. That looks much better. With the white roof, I think this truck needs white wheels. Let's exchange wheels to the original ones. So here it is with the stock wheels painted in white instead of the stamped steel beadlock wheels from Injora. Of course, now it runs even better because of the missing of the rubbing. Check this out, that's only on 2S. That's quite good modulation, isn't it? That's on 2S now, still on 2S. I have the 2S LiPo inside, but maybe it's enough. Maybe you don't have to go to 2S. Still not super easy with the 300 milliamp hours LiPos to get a LiPo with large capacity. Well, I think that's quite nice, isn't it? And the bouncy shocks. Let's check how those shocks bounce and if I will have to change the shocks or if I will let it that way. Still scale or not? No, that's too much. Maybe I will have to work on the shocks. By the way, this truck has awful steering angle. That's the maximum, so would need some adjustment too, I guess, and probably shock adjustment. Or not. Still not sure. What do you think? Should I change shocks or work with the shocks? You can't oil fill those shocks. Or is this scale for a Landy Not sure. Anyway, I like the low speed performance it has with this. Check this out, that's not brushless, but this super heavy truck, and I can absolutely awesome easily control it in low speed modulation. So I guess that's everything about electronics and chassis but the lights. And now to the lights. I told you why I used cold white LEDs. I mounted turning lights to the side blinkers too, as you can see here. Not a big deal. Finally it was a big deal because I had a lot of troubles with the turning lights, but not because of those side blinkers. I simply used an O-ring over the pin of the plastic and then used that tiny, I don't know which size, SMD LED in orange, soldered wires, tiny wires, and then sticked it on top and simply, I will show it to you from inside later, simply fixed it with a little bit of ET7000 I guess, and then with tape. What was the main problem? First of all, it cost me already some time to check the polarity. You can see this here now on video, but in the video I show you the output of the main of the distribution board in center of the lights units, all LEDs, and I use the other side of this wire which I cut here, and check it out how I measured it. I won't show you then all the single boards because this was a big mess. I tested which wires coming out of this distribution board are for which or what LEDs. So I connected the 4 boards to the distribution board. You see here front left, front right, back left and back right, and there come quite a lot of wires out, a red one, black, green, yellow, blue and white. And I tested what is what. Red obviously should be red, and I found that the yellow wire is for the rear lights, for the red lights, for the stop lights or whatever. There is only one pair of red lights, so you can see them here. The blue wire is for the left turning lights, so let's check those. Here's one left turning light, and where's the other one? Here is the other one. And the white wire is for the right turning lights. So here the orange lights, right one, and come on, where's number 2? Oh, okay, it's here. Now it's on. And the green wire is for the main beams. So for 3 LEDs here and 3 LEDs here. What I do not like very much, that those are in parallel. I would like to have those parking lights separate. And the last, the missing, is the black wire, and that's for the reverse light. So here we have reverse lights, and that's it. And then I had assigned those colors to red to the plus and black to the rear lights and whatever what's on the plug on the other side here, but I didn't check that. For example, this plug, this was that wire, if you plug this wire into the distribution board the other way around, it will already be different. But my main problem was I exchanged many LEDs in the front board and also thought red is always plus, and I soldered and connected everything that way, and then nothing worked. I got crazy. You always think LEDs, SMD LEDs broken, connection broken, wire broken, whatever. And it took me quite some time to find out that on the front and on the rear light boards, and I won't show you my tests now again, the color of the wires is different on the rear board. But don't quote me on this. I won't write it here to copy it, because I'm not sure if it's the same on every truck. And the two front boards, the white wire is plus and not the red wire. I thought the red wire and connected everything that way to my light controller. And red wire here is turning lights. Red wire also is turning lights on the rear boards, and the black wire here on the front boards is for all three LEDs per board, and those are connected in parallel. And I did already tell you I didn't like this at all, because I think if you only want the parking lights, the center lights shouldn't be lit up, and that's why I disconnected those LEDs. So I show it to you here. I simply unsoldered them. If you do not have tweezers for soldering, you will destroy the LEDs, not a big problem if you have enough spare tiny white LEDs. So I removed those, cleaned the pads, then insulated one side, the negative side, because all these boards to have a common plus, what's quite nice. The minus is the signal port, and I insulated it with Kapton tape. So insulating tape, and soldered a new LED with the plus to the plus port, and used the wire for the minus port, which was or is isolated from the board by the Kapton tape, and used this wire to my light controller to control the LEDs. And this was not a problematic part. I wanted to do it, I did it, didn't have any problems with this. But finally, after I had finished all the boards, I connected everything and I switched it on for the first time, and I heard a pfft, and all the front white LEDs were burned. And I think, I'm not totally sure, I checked everything, and I think it was a shortcut from the wires going to inside and maybe touching the metal body, because I couldn't find any two wires which touched with open contacts. So maybe it was the metal body, so I had to remove the two here, and solder new SMD LEDs to the board. And after doing all this, in the end, before I finished the truck and before I placed the boards into the body again, I isolated all the areas which could touch wires from the body with Kapton tape. So this opening for the plug, I isolated it to be sure that there will not be a shortcut. I'm still not totally sure why this happened. Same stuff did not happen in the rear board, so no shortcut, but I removed the second white LED, which would be, you can see it here, a reverse LED, and placed a red LED instead. Of course, then I couldn't use the same signal as for the reverse light. I used the common plus and made a thin wire to the SMD LED and connected this to my light controller, my Lameboy's light controller inside. I will show you later. So it's controlled separately, because the upper two ones are also brake lights, and the lower one is only reverse light. And I had to reduce, I think I reduced the brightness to 30% of all those LEDs, of the red LEDs. They were much too bright in my opinion. This didn't look good at all. I did forget to reduce the brightness of the reverse LED, but that's not so much or so bright. Of course, I cannot adjust the brightness of the light bar because that's a simple on-off switch, but I can adjust the brightness of the front LEDs. So one click is, I guess, 30–40% of the tiny parking light. And then for both, for the center LEDs, which are 2 per side, and for the parking light, maybe 50. I would have to look it up. And then maybe 70, and the last step is 100. There's nearly no difference between, there is a difference. That's the second highest step, and the highest step. Yes, there's a difference. So you can play around with the Lambos RC light controller as you want. But though I wanted to tell you about my problems, my main problem, all this wasn't my main problem. What drove me nuts and drove me crazy, and I needed maybe 3 days, of course not days, evenings, some hours on the evening when I have time to tinker with my trucks, to find out what the problem is, and couldn't find out the problem. All 3 turning lights to the right, so that one, and the rear one, they are simply connected in parallel for plus and minus or signal. And in parallel to the Lambos RC light controller, I use 2 ports of the light controller for more amperage because it's only 20 milliamps per port. So this works flawlessly without any problems, and did work. All LEDs work, no problem. But on the left side, and I'm interested if some of you would have any idea, I don't have any idea anymore, and I was already so angry. This did not work. As soon as I connected 2 LEDs in parallel, the front blinking turning light, this one, didn't work anymore. It's absolutely crazy. It took me forever because always you think there's a connection broken, the LED is bad, whatever. So as soon as I only connected the left LED to the light controller, it worked. As soon as I connected the second one in parallel, this didn't run anymore, but this did run, and the reverse, the rear one here, also worked. And I got crazy. I reprogrammed the light controller, I guess 5 or 6 times. I didn't think it's a problem of the light controller. I changed the ports from 5/6 initially to 13/14, and finally even used 15, port 15, and I got crazy. It did not work. No problem at all on the right side. Absolutely same LEDs, same wires, same everything. No chance here. And after 2 or 3 evenings, and every time you can imagine reconnecting, resoldering this stuff, trying to do only 1, 2, 3, and then it doesn't work again, I finally connected every left turning light LED, so the front, this one and that one, separately to 1 port, finally to port 13, 14 and 15 of the light controller board. So each of those is separately driven by the light controller, and the 3, come on, snorkel, the 3 on the right side are connected in parallel. You don't see any difference. And those are the tiny things that can drive you crazy and cost you so much time. So right side, left side, and that this worked took me 3, 4, 5, 6 days, I don't know anymore, not days, but several hours in the evening. And that's also why I did publish or do this video only now. And now I want to show you inside of the truck. You probably want to take a look inside. To open the truck, you have to unscrew 4 screws, 2 here and 2 here. So 4 2.5 by 6 millimeter screws hold the truck. I changed to hex screws, I guess they do come with Phillips head screws. Truck is still running, but body is loose now. And come on, let's break something. And here you go. Okay, the ESC came loose and my wire mesh came loose too. So simply let's disconnect the light controller and let's disconnect the light bar. Truck's still running, didn't open it since last finish, and here you see all my mess. And there would be so much room. I guess the ready to run truck, the ready to run version, which has already been released, I will receive mine tomorrow. It's delayed, really delayed already. It should already be here. I ordered the pickup truck and I will probably do an unboxing video. Probably many are interested in the ready to run version and in the black pickup, of course, and then compared to this one. So probably here's the room for the electronics, I assume. I do not know, but I didn't want to place electronics here. And here's the room for the battery, and it's so narrow. And I thought I will be able to mount this 3S, but no chance with the plugs. Here I simply used, but those wires are too thick. I cut a hole there and made a slit and placed the battery plug GST red here, but I wouldn't know how to widen this. Here's one shock mount and here's the second shock mount. What else? Here's the Dumbo RC receiver, probably should also be placed in the rear part, but I don't want to. And I'm used to place everything as far in front as possible. And here's the mess, the wire mess, because I used splitting wires parallel for the connection to the light controller. So that's a huge mess. And here is even a bigger mess. And here you can see the distribution board with the plug. I showed you first how which wire is for what color, but that's only if you use that direction. And the 4 plugs for the 4 boards: rear left, front left, rear right, front light. And you see I did not connect all wires to this distribution board because some of the wires are connected directly to the Lameboys RC light controller here. Probably you can't see anything. That's the cool thing of this stuff. 16 LEDs can be controlled separately, even more if you connect some in parallel and adjust it. Absolutely awesome stuff. Lameboys RC light controller, check his YouTube channel. Werner Lane. He's from Austria as I am and lives in Singapore. I don't know him in person. Best stuff ever. Use it for 4 or 5 years now. And what else to show? Of course you can't see it anymore. Here you see the turning lights. They are, yeah, you can't see them anymore. Tiny as, and I guess 1206. I don't know the size anymore, or even smaller ones or larger ones. I simply used orange SMD LEDs. And of course I secured all this stuff here with tape as good as possible, because that's a huge wire mess. And if I would start over again with the lightning or lights of this truck, I wouldn't use all this anymore. I simply, maybe I would use the boards because they are nice with the Common Plus, but wouldn't use those thick, large, unflexible wires anymore. I simply would use my own wires and wouldn't use this distribution board, would do it as I do it always, connect those wires to the Lameboys RC light controller. I would have been able to do this in one evening as always, and everything's good. Okay, we have more lights. The light bar lights. This was, of course, there is no room for lights. I drilled 3mm holes, and what was not so super easy, but you hardly can see it now, I had to remove those rods of the lenses of the glasses. I used a Dremel and very slowly and carefully did it, and it's okay if you, because there's the LED in the center. But this was quite a bit of work. And then simply 3mm LEDs connected. I used, here it's not mounted by a screw anymore, the roof rack. The wires go into, I drilled a hole into this rod of the roof rack, or this stand of the roof rack, where normally the screw comes from the lower side, and the wire is not going through the screw hole and comes out somewhere here. So you see here is no screw mounted, but the wires come out, and somewhere is a plug. Okay, I made it very long. That's the plug for the light bar. I could also have connected the light bar simply to the light controller and make one switch, one press, more of the button, and switch it on off that way. But I think if I have this, I wouldn't use this Dumbo RC receiver anyway so often. With the on-off switch here of the for the light LED lights, I will use it and can control it separately. So that's it here inside, and such a lot of room, and then there is no room for a large battery, because how would you do this? Remove, as in RC 4-wheel drive 1 to 18th trucks, the body each time you want to change or charge the battery, and remove 4 screws. Yes, you could do this, and here would be a lot of room for larger batteries. Mm, 1000 is too large, but you would get decent batteries here into this compartment. Okay, I will mount the body again, and then this video will end soon. So body mounted again, that's a good thing. That's super easy and works perfectly and fast to mount the body by the 4 screws. And I guess that's it for this video. I don't really know what else to tell. I don't know if this is my final version of this MN111 Defender. It runs much better with the stock tires than with the rubbing Injora tires. However, I don't see any marks here. And I'm not sure if I will play around with the shocks, because I guess this truck with this super heavy metal body will never ever be a really good crawler. Maybe it's a nice trail truck, and maybe somebody's in the forum used TRX4M shocks or upgrade shocks for TRX4M and say they work awesome. Maybe, because you can't feel oil in those shocks, or maybe I will let it bouncy. And I'm super interested in the pickup version, in the black version, as most of you, which was not available initially, but the ready to run version was available, and mine is already on the way. I ordered it from Banggood too, and it was shipped maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it took ages. It's for more than 1 week now in Czechia. That's Czech Republic. Czechia is Portuguese, I guess. And don't know why it's still not arrived, but today I got a message it will be delivered tomorrow. So probably I will do an unboxing video of the ready to run version, and we can see how the ready to run electronics does compared to the electronics I use. I know that's absolutely awesome ESC, and probably that's much better, but anyway, I'm interested, of course, in the ready to run version. And I did already crawl or play around a little bit with it, and of course it fell and it's quite sturdy. Nothing broke. The only thing that gets off easily is this leather, and I'm still not sure if I would have to use some tiny screws somewhere or not, because I did only press fit it on. So that's it for this video, guys. Let's make light. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next video, probably with the black pickup ready to run version. I'll be back.